Welcome to The Rich Report, a podcast with news and information on the world of startups. Today, my guest is from MyPod Studios. We have Miletsky. He is the founder and CEO of the company. Welcome to the show today.
Thank you very much, Rich. I appreciate you having me on.
You bet. I'm curious to learn more about MyPod, and your tagline is, you're a gated community model for online video content. So I brought your slides up. Why don't you tell us some more?
Sure. We started the company a few years ago with a completely different business model in mind, and I'm not going to spend too much time boring you with those details, but the site as it in its current incarnation was launched last September, and the idea was, we wanted to do a video networking site or a video platform, but we wanted it to be a little different than what is currently out there. There's really no need to have a second YouTube or even a younger brother or cousin to YouTube. I think YouTube has a lot of great benefits, but one of the drawbacks that we were seeing was that there's so much content. I think by their own numbers, they see 48 hours of new content uploaded every single minute of every day. And that's a large sea of content to get through. Most of which, at least in my experience, has been subpar, and you have to wade through a lot of subpar content in order to find a small nugget of video to watch that's actually worthwhile. So we thought, there's really no need to do a second one of those. We thought it might be better if instead we created a gated community. So we launched the site in September, with the concept being that the only content that gets onto our network is content that is pre-approved by our screeners beforehand. So we have content developers who are producers of all sorts of videos, and they come to us and they say, hey, we want our videos to be part of your network. And our screeners will look through it, and based on a number of different points that we put together, they'll decide if their content has a certain amount of watchability. And I say watchability as opposed to quality, because we don't always necessarily look for the most well-produced videos. We look at what we think is going to be the most watchable. And we turn away about 75 to 80% of all content providers who come to us. The other 20% are still very heavily policed. They only get, for example, 2 gigs of space on our network. They can't get any more than that. And once they get to that point, they want to add more videos onto their pod, for example. They have to pull down some video that's not working or not very popular. And further than that, like any TV station like CBS or NBC, they'll cancel a show that's not being watched by enough people. We'll do the same thing. If someone has a page of content and it's not getting enough page views, we'll let them know 3 months in advance, listen, your videos simply aren't pulling in the traffic that we need to pull in. You have a few months to help drive more traffic to that page. Otherwise, we're going to take it down off of our network, and it won't be able to be found on our site any longer. And the reason why we do that is because we want to make sure that the quality, the watchability of the network remains very high by providing a smaller number of videos to watch, and that way we keep the average level of interest higher. Now, the network itself is made up of 2 different areas. We've got our home page and our category pages, and we're broken up into a number of different categories. We have sports, style and leisure, gaming and technology. So we have a number of different categories, entertainment. And once people find their way through these categories in the areas they want to see the videos, then they can find the pods. Now each pod there's 1 pod per content provider. Some content providers have more than 1 pod, and each pod almost acts as an extension of the content provider's own site. They have the ability to change the background design. They can change the colors. They can change the look and feel for the most part. They can really make it reflect their brand. It's very easy to upload videos onto their site, onto their pod. It's got comments, and most of the branding is there. Obviously, we have our logo and our footer, but for the most part, you look at someone's pod and it looks like it belongs to that particular brand. And the content providers really seem to like that quite a bit. They like the ability to change things very easily. The back-end admin area is very simple for them, and they like having an extension of their brand on our site. In terms of our marketing and the way we see our traffic performing, people will come to our homepage and our category pages. They have now keep in mind, we are still in our infancy. There are things that we don't have yet that we would like to. For example, a search engine. We don't have a search engine on our site, and we found so far that while we want to have one, we don't really need one. People seem to be coming. There is much more limited content. They find which category they want to watch. They go to that category. From there, they decide which pods they want to see. Beyond that, we do a lot of external marketing. We have what we call our own secret sauce of marketing engagement. So we obviously pay a lot of attention to social search engine optimization. Do a lot of social media marketing. We do a lot of social media releases and also a lot of public relations around what we're doing. We do some pay-per-click advertising. I wouldn't say a lot. We do quite a bit of in-network marketing, driving some traffic from one pod to another, and making sure that our content providers all get the exposure that they want. And then we're doing also some more traditional advertising. We are right now in the midst of finishing up, redoing our entire database. So we switched from a Flash-based site over to HTML5. Once we do that, and we are mobile friendly, we are going to be launching a 65 market TV spot. We're going to be also launching a nationwide radio spot, and also doing some very interesting combinations of partnerships with some very large event-driven brands. So we look to drive our traffic in from a number of different sources, but primarily the one source that we really look for is that our content providers drive a lot of our traffic for us. We provide very heavy incentives. We make sure they are well taken care of, and that we pay them for the content that they provide to us. It's all on a revenue share, but we make sure that we treat them very, very fairly. We provide for our content providers a lot of exposure in network. We can drive significant traffic to a lot of the pods. We have a voting mechanism which allows people to vote for their favorite pods. We've got obviously banner call-outs, display spaces, pod features where we draw a lot of attention to a certain pod that we want people to go to see. We've got footer links, scrolling suggestion bars within the pods themselves. But probably the biggest draw that we've had, and I'm actually a little surprised that other video networks haven't done this. When you first come to our homepage and our category pages, the first thing you'll see is a video player. And we have our own hostess who will talk to you about MyPod. She'll talk to you about what MyPod does, the content we're bringing you. She'll talk about some of the different pods and introduce some of the different content that people should be watching. And that really helps to drive a lot of traffic. Now, and I understand that. I think, I used to be in the marketing world. I would do a lot of marketing consultations for larger brands. And it became very almost regular and easy to tell people, you never want to have a video player on your homepage that's set to autoplay because it'll drive traffic away from you, and it's going to be seen as annoying. And I think a lot of consultants and a lot of agency types will say that without really thinking it through or looking at real numbers. It's something that we just start to say because it's part of the script that we've all made up for ourselves. But we looked at this and we thought, maybe that is true for certain sites, but for our site, we're a video network. People come to us expecting to see video, so why not give it to them? You go to a news site and you see news on the homepage. You go to an art site and you see art on the homepage. On a video site, you should see video on the homepage. And you go to other networks and other video networks, and what you see is a whole bunch of links to where you can get videos. Well, you're already there. Let's give people what they want. And since we've done that, we've not only seen a tremendous growth in the pods and traffic going to the different pods that we present in our videos, but we've seen our time on site and our pages per visit spike up to levels that we really never expected. We also have, we're starting to build this out, networks within networks. And we've got some providers such as Howdini and VideoJug and A3 that have given us enough content that they have 8, 9, 12 pods themselves. And it's a great experience because you go from one of these pods to the other, and you're all within the same family. You understand the production style, but at the same time, you're seeing different types of content. So we're building out category pages for each of these providers, so that they can have one place to showcase all of their pods and allow their traffic to stay within their own universe inside of our network. And it benefits the viewer. They get to stay with a certain style of production that they're comfortable with. It also benefits our content providers because once we send them some traffic, it captures them and shows them more of their content than they might otherwise see. So far, we've actually gotten a lot of great attention. It's all been very positive. We've been picked up by BetaBeat, by Forbes, MarketWatch. We've gotten a lot of some good news outlets who are starting to watch what we're doing. Our podcast numbers have been very strong. We always tend to be between 150 and 200 in terms of our podcast ranking of the most traffic sites in the U.S. our uniques and page views have always been very strong again, and they've been growing considerably. Depending on where you get the information from, Google Analytics, for example, looks at an aggregate of the entire network, including all of the different pods, which reside at unique URLs. So we're looking at 18 to 22 million uniques per month, 110, 115 million page views. Quantcast is only looking at our homepage and some of the category pages, same as ComScore. So they're seeing us more at the 7, 8 million unique level. But either way, we're really coming out of the gate quite strong.
Well, great, Jason. I got a lot of questions because I'm a prospective content provider. So I want to ask you about that. So,
Sure.
you know your content. Is there much business-to-business kind of content in there, or is it mostly focused at Joe Sixpack?
It's. I wouldn't say either one. I wouldn't say Joe Sixpack necessarily. I think that we find that our audience is a little more discriminating. You're not going to find. Our audience is probably not going to be the audience that is running over to YouTube to watch a schoolyard fight or to see, one more inane video of a cat getting stuck in a bottle. As bad as those are, and believe me, my wife has me watching cats getting stuck in bottles on YouTube all night long. That's not what we're showcasing.
Okay.
So I think our viewer tends to be more, they're the consumer-based viewers, but they tend to be a little more on the discriminating side. They might not necessarily know what they're looking for, but they understand that whatever they watch is going to be worth watching. On the B2B side, that's actually how we started. Our original business plan was to start off as a B2B platform that we could license out to companies who wanted to use online video in their marketing, but not have to put their videos for a variety of reasons on a network like YouTube. So we actually started off, our first client in that realm was ASCO Power, which is the division of Emerson Electric. They were actually the reason why we built this thing in the first place. And they still exist. They still have their pod at ascoapu.com. But shortly after we built it and we started to look into what it was going to take to get this into other large B2B companies, we decided it made more sense to convert this into a consumer-based platform and monetize ourselves through advertising instead. And that's actually been probably the best thing we could have ever done because it's really done quite well. That being said, we still actually are looking at some point over the next year or two to break back into the B2B market because ASCO has had exceptional success using our platform as their marketing vehicle.
So that helps. I mean, I have a number of podcasts kind of like this, right? They're video and slides, but they're very focused, right? So I could foresee like having a startup-based pod, right? And I have another area that focuses on high-performance computing. But for me, a couple hundred views would be successful. Is that the kind of thing that's going to measure up, or are you looking for more of the 10,000 click kind of content?
No, you know what? It's a great question. It falls somewhere in between there. We're looking to build out our business category. We don't have a business category on there right now. We're currently collecting content to build one out, but the way we incentivize our content providers is not necessarily just based on a revenue share. All right, and the reason why I'm going in the revenue share direction and how people get paid out is, to answer your question, is because to us we find a lot more value in, let's say, 50,000 page views than YouTube would find in 5 million. So we don't necessarily need every pod to bring in millions of page views. The tens of thousands of views would be great. Now, obviously, if you're looking for 100 or 200, that's probably on the low side. But it doesn't mean that's all you would get. Once you're on our network, chances are you're probably not going to walk away with a month without having at least 50,000 page views. That'd be a little surprising. Now, maybe of those, only 100 or 200 might be worthwhile for you, but again, it doesn't cost you anything outside of the cost of production. So if you can get 50,000 people watching and you get 50,000 people watching, that's great as well.
Yeah. I mean, and it would be much easier, it sounds like, to get found on the MyPod Studio than wading through YouTube with thousands of hours getting added every minute, right?
Exactly. That's the hype that's behind it.
Yeah, it's hard to stumble onto my content, So that's really interesting. So what were your challenges, and as far as, with all this kind of traffic, that's got to be expensive if from a data center point of view and from an IT provider. How did you put that together to pay the bills before the advertising money started coming in?
Well, we do have a couple of investors. I have a private investor that started us off, and then we have a small VC group that only deals in this space. But to be honest with you, our raise was not that significant. We raised about $500,000, and that was really all that we were looking to raise. We didn't want to give too much of the boat away. The truth is that we found there are a lot of producers out there. We found our initial crop of content providers by reaching out to them. We went onto YouTube and we found the content providers that had a big following, and we reached out to them and wanted to see if they'd be willing to be on our network and explained to them it's going to be quite a while before you get paid out because we need to build a following first. Now that we've built that following, content providers come to us. But you're right. There are a lot of costs that are involved in this sort of thing. There's technology. There's bandwidth. There's all sorts of things. Now, obviously, a lot of that stuff we can you pay on time. You get 30, 60, 90 days. But the fact of the matter is that these things don't have to be as expensive as a lot of people would lead you to believe. The technology costs themselves are not that expensive. To build a site like this out, it's not the serving costs and the bandwidth costs. You can cut deals with places like Amazon or Akamai and get extremely good deals that make this thing affordable. And I think the bigger thing is that you have to have one. I think if you have one colossal failure in your life, you recognize how to really spend money the right way. I had a marketing agency that at its height had 50 people, and we turned that into a colossal, spectacular failure because we spent money in the wrong ways. We had 50 people doing the work of 25. We had one room for the pinball machine, one room for the pool tables, and we spent money in ridiculous ways. Now I look at this company and we do it exactly the opposite. No one has a corner office. We all sit at a bank of desks. There's not a lot of us doing this. It's 7 people who are very dedicated and work very hard. I look at a network such as, let's say, like Live TV, and every other day you see that they're raising another $12 or $18 million, most of it to go cover old debt. And then you look on their site, you try to figure out what are they possibly doing with all that money. Mm-hmm. They've got you go to the About page, they've got 60 people easy who work there over 5 cities. I can't imagine what 60 people are possibly doing full time at that network. I can't. It doesn't take that. So I think there's a sexiness and there's an appeal about raising a lot of money and spending it on ridiculous things, but that's not the way to really build a business.
Well, I wanted to double click on that a bit because I was curious about your IT infrastructure. Are you just outsourcing to the cloud, places like Amazon? How do you get it done?
We actually, everything that we have is homegrown. We have our own player. We've got our own database. We have our own back-end admin area that we built ourselves. The template is ours. So everything is ours. The only thing that we outsource is our ad server. We use a couple of different ones. We use AdTech and AdaptTV. And on the actual hosting of the videos, we use both Rackspace and Akamai. But everything else is all homegrown. It's all ours. We have our own development team here.
Terrific. Well, hey, kind of a wrap up here. As a startup entrepreneur, we have a lot of audience, people that have great ideas. What advice would you give them? Would it be about austerity, spending money on the right things, or what would you say?
Yeah, you know what? I would definitely start there and let people know that you don't have to spend a lot. There are a lot of deals you can make. There are a lot of people who will be willing to work for less to be part of a good idea. There are a lot of ways that you can do something without having to spend a considerable amount of money. As exciting as it is to spend a lot of money, the one thing you don't want to get into is that, and I'll tell you, in any industry, I think you see the payments getting longer and longer. So whatever payments you're expecting from clients, you can expect that to start creeping towards 60, 90, even 120 days. So you have to be very careful with how you spend your money. I also think that you have to be a little realistic in terms of the ideas. I've seen a lot of goofy ideas come and go. I had a friend of mine who had who wanted to build a social network for family to connect with one another. And besides the fact that you can already do that on Facebook, my comment to him was, family doesn't want to connect to each other. We're happy to know what Uncle Herb did on Thanksgiving and see him again at Easter, outside of that, we don't really care. People leave Facebook when their family joins.
Yeah.
So, I think you have. I think everybody. I hate the idea that when people say that no idea is a bad idea, no question is a stupid question. That's not true. There are bad ideas out there. So you have to look at what you're doing and say, is this really something that is like monetized and that people are going to really want?
Well, along those lines, you've provided a platform here to make money based on content. Do you think are there people making enough money to make a living on this, or is that not the goal?
Well, I think I don't know about other networks. I know we're profitable already, and I don't know how many other networks are. I don't think there are a lot of them that are. But again, I think a lot of them just overspend. In terms of the content providers, I think you can make a living off of it, but you have to be smart about it. You have to make sure that you're obviously, there is a certain amount of quality that you need to have. It doesn't have to be produced in a Paramount or Universal studio, but you have to be a little careful about how you're producing something and make sure that there's quality in it. You have to know your audience. If it's a web audience, you have to keep your content below 2 minutes per episode, because otherwise you'll start to lose people. Yeah. You need to you need to do something that could possibly fit a niche that your network or your ad rep can possibly sell against. So, for example, if you're going to do something that has to do with babies, make sure you consistently keep that theme going through it. And that way your ad rep or your network can reach out to Huggies or Pampers and try to get them to sponsor. Because the real money in content development is not in, small $5 CPMs. It's in sponsorship of, $10, $20, $25,000 to have your product placed in 5 episodes and be open to that sort of thing. There is a lot of money to be had on the content development side. You just have to make sure that you're producing things the right way and that you're thinking as a marketer would think when you're in the production cycle.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on the show. My head is just reeling with the possibilities here. So, good job, and I wish you the best with MyPod Studios.
Thank you very much. Again, I appreciate you having me on, and I would absolutely love to have some of your content on our network. So anytime you want to, just let me know.
Okay, we'll do for sure. Okay, folks, that's it for the Rich Report. Stay tuned for more news and information on the world of startups.